Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is an action film from South Korea, Korean language English subs, released in the year 2010, directed by Bo Lee, and this film is called The Man from Nowhere. So The Man from Nowhere starts off with this young girl. She's very lonely. She walks the streets at night because her mother is constantly out on drugs and her mother is actually involved with some really dodgy gangsters. So she's been beaten up daily and this young girl just doesn't want to put up with this. So she wanders the streets and then one day she comes into this pawn shop. This guy who's selling things in this pawn shop, he is very troubled as well and he's very lonely, and quickly the two of them form this very strong friendship, and this friendship basically allows them to get the strength to live out each day. So one day this young girl's mother is found brutally murdered and the young girl can't be found anywhere, so it turns out that maybe this young girl has been kidnapped by organ traffickers. So her life is in grave danger and this man is aware of this, and it actually turns out the man has a history that allows him to be well equipped at trying to rescue her. So he goes on a very violent path in order to try and get this girl in time, and whether or not he can do that, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Man from Nowhere. This was a very interesting film, and immediately I was reminded of the film Leon the Professional. And Leon the Professional from Luc Besson, starring Jean Reno and Natalie Portman, was a movie about innocence being put onto a very hardened criminal and how that can soften a criminal up. And so in Leon the Professional you've got some very good characters, and this movie you've also got very good characters, and there's a striking similarity in the way that this movie pans out, as is the case with Leon the Professional. So whether or not you want to call this the Korean version of Leon the Professional, I don't know, but I still think it has the merit to warrant it as a movie of its own. So the Man from Nowhere, it is a movie that goes for 2 hours, but I think it really does know what it's doing. A lot of other films I've reviewed recently where it just goes on for too long, whereas in this film I think everything worked fairly well. You've got very, very good characters, and that's by far the best part of this movie, is that when the action sequences that are incredible aren't happening, you're not bored, because these characters blossom out. You start to think, okay, this main character, what is his past, and why is he so reclusive? Why can't he connect to anyone? And then you've got this young girl, and then this guy who doesn't have any emotion, he starts to know this girl and he starts to open up, and you feel that his personality is coming back, and it shows you the power of innocence. In this world that this guy was in, there was no innocence. It was all barbarity, it was all brutal, and it was all tragic, whereas when this girl comes in, he starts to lighten up a little bit. So the characters evolve very well, and there's a strong sense of connecting to their situation. So when the action scenes happen, not only are they expertly choreographed, because you actually feel like you know these people, it gives it an even more thrilling sort of aspect, and you're not bored waiting in between these action scenes, which is my problem with a lot of other action movies, is that if you don't have a very interesting story, yes, the movie is very good when the action's happening, but in between there, you're left looking at your watch and you're wondering when is the next action scene happening, but you don't get that in The Man from Nowhere, because the story was very good also. It's a very, very dark story. It's a story that I thought went to places that I wasn't expecting. This is, as far as action stories are concerned, this is one of the more darker ones. There were some moments there that I thought were very, very depressing. And there's always that sense that things are going to go very bad. So I really like the continuity. I thought the story, the characters all worked very well. They complemented the fantastic action scenes. It's a very violent film. It is a lot more violent than a lot of other South Korean action films going out there. And as I said, there are some very brutal moments that are quite nasty as well. So it does have a very dark heart, but then it also has shades of beauty as well within, as I said, this friendship. And it shows you the power of this friendship that these two characters had. And when he embarks on this mission to rescue her, it feels realistic because it took the time and effort to give you an insight into their personalities and how they connected. And because you can believe in their friendship, you can believe in him trying to go and rescue her. So I really, really like that. I think that the director focused on the areas that not a lot of action films focus on. As far as action is concerned, they just focus on really good action, but then all of a sudden you're left thinking, what am I going to do to fill in the time between each action set piece? So the soundtrack was fantastic. As is the case with a lot of Korean films, I mean, the score really works in its favour. It's very memorable, and there are some very emotional scenes in there as well, without getting to the point of being over, melodramatic. So I like that as well. The supporting cast, everyone does a great job in the acting department. As I said, the main two characters were phenomenal. The main character, this man, you don't know his history, and you sense that he's a very dangerous person, but because you don't know his history at the start of the film, it gives you that, it makes you enticed to actually find out what's going on. And because it doesn't give you too much straight away, it's not forcing everything, so it's slowly just building, and you're slowly absorbing yourself into the situation. And I think the way that these characters unraveled, it just makes it very rewarding. And as I said, when you care about the characters, the action scenes are just even, a lot more powerful than they would be if you were just there solely for action. So I think The Man from Nowhere was very impressive. It's not the best film going around, but it's certainly not the worst. If you're an action fan, I would highly recommend you check it out. It goes for 2 hours, but it doesn't outstay its welcome. I thought the ending was fairly decent. I would have gone a little bit different as far as the ending is concerned, but it's still not a terrible ending. And I just think that it's definitely one of these movies that you can put right up there as far as South Korean cinema is concerned. So if you like action movies, in particular South Korean action films, Man from Nowhere is definitely one I think you would enjoy. So overall for this film, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.